Hey, what's going on, everybody? So you guys know my name is Yusef Scott, and this is going to be the continuation of my Forex journey. Now, in the previous 5 segments or 5 parts, I had explained to you guys how I got started, how I first was introduced to the financial markets, how I made the transition from, of course, losing everything along the way and then bouncing back. And then in my previous video, I was explaining to you guys how I met this guy Marv and how we had got connected with a company and it didn't work out. So let me explain to you guys exactly how Marv and I met. So I was fully employed in construction, and of course at the time I was making a very good income for my age, and I also had properties that I was renovating and wholesaling, and I was doing very good to be quite young. What happened was, when I got connected with this one construction outfit in my area, this particular guy who owned the company, he was pretty I'll say he didn't know how to, he mismanaged a lot of the company monies, getting government contracts. He wasn't paying his guys, and I was one of maybe about 7 or 8 guys that he failed to actually pay. He couldn't pay the payroll because he was going out, mishandling the money, mismanaged the funds, buying all types of things with our payroll money. How I met Marv is because he had met this particular individual. He met him. He met my former boss. Somehow, I don't know exactly how they met, but he met him, and he was supposed to be the money guy, like a silent partner. He was going to own 51% of his company, where he would come in and put money into the company to help him get out of this deep hole that he was in financially. Of course, these types of things, usually employees don't know this stuff, but because it was such a small company, we were aware of this, of all the things that were going on. And because I've heard of this guy having money, and I heard he was into real estate really heavily, and I said, man, I was thinking to myself, this is the type of person that I want to get connected with, because at a very young age, when I was younger, I'd always knew that, and I heard that, real estate property, it's going to eventually, real estate property, properties, you can build a lot of houses. But my thinking was, I need to get into buying land and develop on the land, because land, it's limited. So I figured, and what I had learned about this guy Marv was that he was big into real estate. So I said, what better person to be connected with? Well, unfortunately, because I was an employee of this guy's company, it didn't look all too good at first, because I was sort of a foreman on the job. They really looked up to me they knew I was responsible, so they, listen, we need you to do A, B, and C, get that done, Scott. And so I was kind of looked up to in regards to the on a managerial side, but I wasn't a foreman. There was someone else, but they can count on me. What happened is, I guess because of my ability to perform on a job, I kept my ear to the ground. I was hearing things, and for whatever reason, this, my former boss, he asked me, he said, listen, I hear that you're into real estate. How about we sit down and have lunch, and we talk about doing some type of partnership? So I'm thinking to myself, well, in my own quiet time, I'm thinking to myself, well, this guy can't even pay me my salary, my weekly salary. How could I trust that? But I decided, well, let's go ahead and let's go out, have lunch, talk about some things. So I took him out. to look at some properties. I showed him some of the properties that I was looking at. I showed him some things, talked about things, and he said, man, you know, I really do think that if you find the properties and you let me handle the money, man, we might have a great connection here. And I told him, I said, listen, and I had to be frank. I had to be, you know, thorough with it. I said, listen, how can I trust you with thousands of dollars if you can't pay me $1,000 a week? You know, how could I trust that? And at that point he realized, okay, Scott, he's not somebody that I'm going to get over on. And you know, although we had a great working, you know, relationship, he knew my position. He knew that, you know, I wasn't going to stand for anything. And it's funny, but through that conversation, and because of my position in the company, it's kind of crazy, but my immediate foreman, he and I was close, and he knew he can count on me for certain things. And out of the blue, because of what people knew about me, he said, well, listen, Scott, this is very hard for me to ask you, but do you think it's possible you can pay the payroll for the guys for this week? And I was like, what? You know, it was crazy, because here I am, an employee, and the owner of the company owed me thousands of dollars. Just to let you guys know, he had owed us at one point up to 6 weeks of pay. And here I am, owed thousands of dollars, but my supervisor, my foreman, is asking me to pay the payroll for the guys. A lot of you might say, well, that's crazy. Why would you do that? Just to tell you guys, I did it. Not once, but twice. I paid the payroll twice. And you know, he and we had an agreement, said, listen, I'll make sure that you get your monies back. And I took care of it. I took care of it once. I took care of it again each time I got my money back. Well, that was a blessing that I did that, because my position within the company sort of, instead of me being here, they kind of put me up to here. So now I was the guy who was ordering material, and they were calling me, hey Scott, can you order this supplies? And you know, and I would order the supplies because I had, you know, I had the, you know, the cash to do it. Like I said, that was a blessing, because I was now a part of, like, really looked at as being a part of the managerial side of the company. I was now connected with another woman who they would use to get supplies, and then me being connected with her allowed me to get connected with Marv. So what happened was, sometimes I wouldn't know all of the details with ordering the supplies, but I would have to call this woman, and I would call this woman Sue, and I said, listen, Sue, we need to get this, that, and the third, because you know, whatever it was that I needed from her, because there were certain things that were just, I think there was a certain vendor that we had to go through, and she had contacts for that. So there was sometimes I had to connect with her in order to order certain parts and material. And because Marv was the money guy, and because now I'm in this position where they were looking at me as being a part of management, not really, but a part of management. It did come with a pay increase, but I was looked at as being a part of management, sort of. Still out in the field though. Like I said, it was a small company, so it wasn't like, you know, full-fledged, and it was a very small company. I had access to Marv now, and I remember when I first talked to Marv, he was a bit standoffish. You know, and to this day we laugh at it, because he thought, because I was an employee of this guy, my former boss, Kedrick, he thought that I was connected with him at the hip. He thought we were really in cahoots with all of this crazy stuff. You know, because this guy, he was nothing more than just a boss to me. But he thought we were in cahoots, and because ultimately what happened was this guy, he burned Marv. You know, he gave Marv 51% of his company so that Marv can actively invest. And you know, there was an agreement that he would get said monies in return. But he gained access to his bank account, took $25,000. It was just crazy stuff. So Marv thought that I was in cahoots with him. And I had to talk to him and said, listen, I was never in cahoots with this guy. I came to the company in a financial situation, but I like the idea of getting this nice salary too. And I could work both of them. So when I explained to him how I showed him some properties that I had, and I told him how I heard that he was in real estate too, and I said, you know, I really admired that about you. I had to just be frank and be upfront, because that's how people, they realize your authenticity. So me doing that, he said, you know, now I see that you're not this person that I thought you were. I said, nah, it's not that. I said, I want to get so far away from this guy. And I never forget when Marv was the one that basically paid us all back. The 6 weeks of pay that I was out of, Marv gave Kedrick the money to pay all of his guys. And when I never forget, he paid me my money, and that was it. I cut all ties with this guy. And you know, there were certain things on the business side that I had learned, you know, in terms of getting certain contracts, because I learned how to get contracts in my city. I learned how to get contracts, which I had eventually opened up a business, and I was getting contracts. So that was a good thing. But in terms of really locking hands with this guy, I had to cut that off. And so in that bad experience, there was a blessing as far as on the business side, and then on top of that, being able to meet Marv and being able to lock hands with him and do a number of properties after that. And that's how I met Marv. And luckily, like I said, we laugh about it now, but he thought that I was in cahoots with this guy. But really, I was just a young, ambitious, hungry guy that I admired him. And to be truthful, he's like a father to me, and I'm like a son to him. So it's one of them working relationships where, you know, a lot of people, you can't find that in a lot of people. So it's a fantastic thing. So now, going to the story that I was going to tell you guys about this Petrol America. Well, because Marv and I, we were connected, and we both did certain penny stocks, and we were on Investors Hub, and just a whole bunch of stuff that we had done together. We looked at certain stocks and just a whole bunch of stuff that we had done together. He had told me about this Petrol America, and this company, like I explained in the previous video, this company was nothing more than a guy creating a business name. He got certain things set up properly, but he was pumping this company up, acting like it was into crude oil, and it had gold mines, and you know, just told people a bunch of lies, all types of people from all walks of life. And me and Marv and I, we were one of them. I didn't lose that much because, you know, I kind of had my stuff, you know, spread out a little bit. But Marv, he lost tens of thousands of dollars, and that was a bad situation for him. But it was one of them situations where this is something we had to deal with. We had to deal with this, and it was something that I learned from. So one of the things that, if you ever get burned in any situation, try to find the good in it. There's always something good you can take out of that experience. Whether it's, you know what, don't trust people like that. Do a little bit more research before you jump into an opportunity. But because I trusted Marv, I got into it. And sometimes it's going to happen because Marv's, what he knew about the company is like anyone else. You know, on the surface, it looks awesome, great opportunity. You know, crude oil was was something that, you know, during this time, it was you know, oil was something that was talked about heavily in the news. So someone pitching something about oil prices going up, and you're able to, you know, drill oil and got these gold mines, everything connecting, it sounded good. So we bought into it. And just like you guys can do research, there were a lot of people who lost their money. And you know, but it taught me something along the way. Now, you know, I just know that anything that I get into, whether it's real estate or anything that I get into, any deal, I'm always doing my own due diligence before I put up any type of monies. And that's what I tell anyone to do. You know, anything you want to do, always do, you know, your own due diligence on the person, on the company, so you'll feel better. But you know, sometimes people, they're just sneaky, and you never know until it's too late. So that's how I met Marv, and that's how this situation, it really hurt us. Now, I do remember there was another opportunity that we had gotten involved with, and that one also didn't turn out well. You guys can do research on that. It was what was it? P2P, Pathway to Prosperity. That's what it was. You guys can do some research on that. And that was, from what I knew of it, it turned out to be a Ponzi scheme. There were people making money. That was another one that Marv had put me on to. I was a little reluctant at first, because I just didn't think that it was possible for someone to make money, but he was making money with it. So since he was making money with it, I felt like, well, if he's shown me that he's making money, I see the transaction history. There's, you know, there's no way that I could lose. But the type of return, I think it was like 120%, 160% every 30 days, or something crazy, where you like, it's really a no-brainer. Like, how could you not want to get involved with something like that when people are actually saying that they're getting paid? You know, and that's just like any opportunity. You know, it's just like, wow, like, why not? So that one turned out to be, eventually the money start slowing up. People weren't getting their money. They were saying, okay, wait until Friday, or, you know, another week from now. Well, you know, it was just one thing after another. And unfortunately, when I got involved, I never actually made any type of money with it. Put my money in, and I lost it. But that one, I think I only put a couple thousand in, but it wasn't a big deal because it was just a couple thousand. So, but it still hurt. It was still a lesson learned. So this is going to be the 6th video, you guys. In the next video, I'm going to go a little further deep into how I then progressed and got deeper into real estate, and share some other things with you guys. All right, talk to you guys next video. Peace.